Zara Davis was used to a life of bright lights, carefully curated outfits, and an endless stream of notifications buzzing on her smartphone. Every day, she posted photos and short videos to a following that had grown into the hundreds of thousands, enthralled by her commentary on fashion, travel, and interior decor. She had never considered herself manipulative or vain. She simply found joy in sharing styles and stories that ignited her imagination and that of others. Yet, beneath the polished perfection of her posts, she felt an undercurrent of emptiness. Something was missing, though she hadn't quite put her finger on it. One breezy Saturday afternoon, Zara found herself at a bustling artisan market on the outskirts of town, camera in hand. Her manager had suggested she document local handicrafts for a fresh twist in her content. She liked the idea. It offered a sense of authenticity and community engagement her audience often craved. Rows of colorful stalls lined the cobblestone paths, showcasing everything from delicate hand woven tapestries to intricate pottery. Vendors, many of them local artisans, stood proudly behind their creations, explaining stories behind each piece to curious passers-by. It was there that she noticed a small workshop booth, set slightly apart from the others. The sign read, Traditions and Timbers. Its caretaker was a man who looked to be in his late 20s or early 30s, tall and broad shouldered, with hair curling at his temples. His hands moved smoothly over a block of wood, a chisel in one grip as he bent his head in concentration. The item in his hands appeared to be a decorative wooden bowl, partially carved with swirling patterns. Zara paused. There was something magnetic about the scene, perhaps the humility with which the man approached his work. She stepped forward, phone raised, intending to catch a snippet of his expert carving for her social media feed. As she drew closer, the man lifted his gaze. His brown eyes were soft but curious, and there was a hint of sawdust in his hair. Hello, she said, lowering the phone slightly. I'm Zara Davis, a lifestyle influencer, and I was hoping I could film a bit of your craft. Everything here looks incredible. If you don't mind my asking, could you share your name and a little about what you do? He set his chisel to the side and wiped his hands on a nearby rag. I'm Mateo Reyes, he said, inclining his head in a courteous little bow. I work with reclaimed wood to create functional art pieces, bowls, vases, sometimes furniture. All of it is hand carved, using techniques passed down in my family. We've been woodworkers for generations, though I've made a few personal innovations over the years. That sounds amazing, Zara replied, enthusiastic. She pressed record on her phone's camera. Would you mind showing me a little bit of your process? I'm featuring unique artisan crafts on my channel this week, and these are some of the most stunning pieces I've seen. Mateo blinked up at the camera, not entirely comfortable in the spotlight, but he gave her a polite, if uncertain, smile. He demonstrated how he used his chisel and a special mallet to carve the swirling design, explaining how each scoop of wood was carefully planned so the final shape would feel both organic and refined. Zara watched him, entranced by the way he treated the wood with a gentle touch, as if it were alive. Once she had enough footage, Zara smiled and thanked him. I'd love to feature more of your work, she said. Any chance I can stop by your workshop one day? Maybe we can do a longer video about your design process. He hesitated, glancing down, as if unsure whether he wanted that kind of attention. My workshop is humble, but if you're truly interested, I'd be happy to show you around. I've never actually hosted an influencer before. Zara laughed. I promise not to get in your way. I just want to highlight your artistry. Trust me, people will love seeing it. Mateo nodded and they exchanged phone numbers. As Zara walked away, she couldn't help noticing her heart rate was slightly elevated, a fluttering sensation in her chest. There was something quietly extraordinary about him, his calm focus, his grounded presence. For once, she had recorded a segment not purely for its visual appeal or flashy aesthetic, but for the genuine craft behind it. Over the next few days, Zara uploaded the brief video of Mateo's carving. Within hours, the post's engagement soared. Comments flooded in. Everyone wanted to know more about the handsome woodworker who carves beauty from reclaimed timber. Some asked detailed questions about his technique, others simply fawned over his quiet charisma. Flipping through her messages on the sofa in her chic apartment, Zara felt a tingle of excitement. She needed to contact him to arrange a follow up. The audience clearly wanted more of Mateo and his art, and if she was being honest with herself, so did she. When the weekend arrived, Zara drove out of the city in her sleek coupe, heading for the address Mateo had provided. The roads turned from asphalt to gravel, then shifted into a narrow dirt lane lined with tall trees. She pulled up to a modest cottage with a wide porch. Behind the home stood a barn-like workshop, the roof dotted with solar panels. Rows of stacked lumber sat beneath a lean-to. The smell of fresh wood shavings carried on the sun-warmed breeze. Mateo emerged from the workshop, sporting jeans, boots, and a faded t-shirt. He greeted her with a nod and a slight smile, still timid but polite. "Welcome. I hope you didn't have trouble finding the place," he said. "It was more of an adventure than I expected," she replied, grinning, "but I made it just fine." She followed him inside the workshop. Rays of sunlight streamed through high windows and the air was cool despite the lingering summer heat outside. Shelves displayed finished pieces, from small wooden sculptures to intricately carved bowls. The sweet tang of sawdust mingled with a subtle, spicy aroma from glazes and oils. It was a far cry from the artificial lights and perfumed makeup set Zara was used to. With her phone camera rolling, she asked Mateo to explain how he selected the wood he used. He showed her planks of maple, oak, and even remnants of centuries-old barn beams. "My father taught me to feel the texture of a plank and see the patterns in the grain," Mateo explained, touching one piece with reverent care. "Each block has a story. My job is to reveal it." Zara found herself captivated, even without the camera. She realized she was listening to him for her own interest, not simply for content. There was an earnestness about him she found refreshing. He wasn't trying to sell anything or boost his image. He was offering a glimpse into a world that she realized she barely understood. They filmed for a couple of hours, and then Zara suggested taking a break. "I brought some sandwiches," she said, lifting a small cooler. They stepped outside, settling on the porch steps. The sunlight sparkled on a nearby pond, where dragonflies hovered above the water's surface. She unwrapped a sandwich and handed it to him. "Thanks," he said, "though I wish I had something more to offer you than a seat on these dusty steps." "I like the dust," Zara replied, surprising him and herself. "Really, it's nice to get away from the city noise." She glanced at him. "And I wanted to say that I'm grateful for this chance to see your workshop. My followers are already in love with your work." He looked a bit sheepish. "I never really saw myself as the kind of guy who goes viral online," he admitted. "I just do what I do. If people appreciate it, that's enough for me." Zara felt an unexpected pang of admiration. "You might not care about being famous, but let's just say I can see why you're getting so much attention." They chatted in the sun until the sandwiches were gone. As Zara slipped her phone into her bag, she caught him giving her a thoughtful look. He quickly glanced away when her eyes met his, but there was a quiet warmth in his gaze, something that lingered in the air. On the drive home that evening, Zara felt light, as if a layer of stress had lifted from her shoulders. She recalled how, hours earlier, she had teased a short demonstration video on her social media feed, showcasing Mateo's workshop. Rechecking her app at a red light, she saw the video had racked up thousands of likes, with enthusiastic comments praising his craftsmanship. An idea began to form in her mind. Would he be open to a collaboration? Something bigger than a casual highlight reel? The next day, Zara called him. "I have a proposition," she said. "My followers are really invested in what you're doing. I thought..." Maybe we could team up. You could make a special product line, something you're proud of, maybe smaller pieces that are easier to ship, and I could promote them." She heard him hesitate on the other end. "I've never done something like that before." "I haven't either," Zara admitted, "but it could be incredible. You'd get more customers, and I'd get to feature something authentic and unique. We'd both benefit." Eventually, Matteo agreed. They made plans to discuss further details in person. Over the following weeks, Zara drove to his workshop several times. He unveiled sketches for small but exquisite wooden items, jewelry holders in the shape of leaves, pen stands carved to look like tiny forest logs, and candle holders with delicate swirling motifs. Each piece was a testament to his skill. Zara loved them. Her social media community exploded in anticipation. The flurry of shares and comments led to various inquiries, and soon they had a waiting list. Zara designed an entire campaign, helping with packaging ideas and naming products like woodland candlescape and autumn leaf trinket box. She even bought a few wooden display stands to photograph the items in carefully composed shots. Capturing them in the golden hour sunlight at Mateo's farm gave the images a breathtaking quality that resonated with people online. Between takes, conversation flitted between them effortlessly. They shared details of their upbringings. Mateo told her about his father, who immigrated from a small village known for centuries old woodworking traditions, and how his mother was a school teacher who encouraged him to nurture his creative side. Zara confessed how she started streaming fashion and DIY videos in college to pay for textbooks and discovered she had a flair that drew an audience. Bit by bit, they revealed snippets of themselves that extended beyond their online or artisanal personas. As they worked, the business side of their partnership flourished. Orders poured in, some from exotic corners of the globe, and they scrambled to keep up with daily tasks. Zara fielded messages, while Matteo stayed in the workshop late into the night carving new pieces. Their communications evolved from polite exchanges into a shared intimacy full of inside jokes, gentle teasing, and occasional exasperation when they disagreed about design details or shipping deadlines. It was the sort of synergy that sparked creativity, fired by mutual respect, and spurred on by a compelling emotional undercurrent neither wanted to name. Late one afternoon, Zara was finalizing product photos under a large oak tree when Matteo joined her, loosening the bandana he wore to keep back the sawdust. The sun had dipped low, painting the horizon in pastel pinks and oranges. Zara glanced at him and smiled, but her expression faltered slightly when she noticed the tired circles under his eyes. "You've been working too hard," she said softly, setting her phone aside. "You need a break." He exhaled and rubbed the back of his neck. "I've had bigger orders before, but never a rush like this. Still, this collaboration means a lot to me. I don't want to let you down." She felt a tug in her chest. "You're not going to let me down," she replied gently. "Look, anytime you need to slow down, just say so. This project should be fulfilling, not exhausting." Their eyes met, and for a brief moment the only sounds were the rustle of leaves overhead and the distant chirp of crickets in the tall grass. Then, in the soft hush, the weight of their mutual affection hung in the air. Neither seemed ready to break the delicate tension. Finally, Matteo cleared his throat. "Let's call it a day," he said, forcing a small smile. "I'll wrap things up in the workshop and we can continue tomorrow." "Good idea," Zara murmured, tucking a lock of hair behind her ear. As he walked away, she realized her hands were trembling. The next weekend, Zara arrived early, carrying a bouquet of wildflowers she'd gathered on the roadside and a determined sense that she needed to address her growing feelings. Cast against the morning sun, Mateo's workshop looked almost magical with its wooden beams and specks of dust sparkling in the light. She found him inside, working on the finishing touches of a candle holder. His eyes lit up when he saw the flowers. "They're beautiful," he said, stepping away from his workstation to accept them. "I'll find a place to put these Maybe in my mother's old vase? Zara followed him into the cottage kitchen. It was cozy with worn tile floors, bright curtains, and a small collection of mismatched dishes in a glass front cabinet. She watched him fill the vase with water and arrange the wildflowers. The domesticity of the moment triggered a wave of warmth in her. How easily she could imagine sharing morning coffee here, listening to the gentle hum of nature outside. They set the flowers by the window, and then he turned to her, cheeks tinted slightly. "Zara," he began, his voice quieter than usual. "Yes." He pressed his hands to the edges of the kitchen counter, organizing his thoughts. "I'm no good with words," he admitted, "not like you are with your camera and all those social media captions. But I've been thinking." She felt her pulse quicken. "Go on," he exhaled. "Working with you has been the best thing that's happened to me in a long time. Not just because we're selling a lot of pieces, but because, well, you bring a brightness to my days. And lately, I can't stop thinking about you, especially when you're not here." Heat rose in her face, and she let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. "Well," she said, voice thick with emotion, "it's mutual, but I wasn't exactly sure how to bring it up." Relief blossomed in his expression. He took a tentative step forward, reaching for her hand. "Is there a chance we could do more than just collaborate on wooden crafts? Could we try to see where this goes?" Her heart thrilled at the words. She squeezed his fingers gently. "I'd like that a lot." Moments later, they found themselves lingering close, eyes fluttering shut as their lips met for a tender, cautious kiss. When they parted, it was to the soft hush of the morning, a promise spoken through intertwined hands. In the weeks that followed, their collaboration took on a deeper dimension. Their shared excitement spilled over into the pieces they created together, each item infused with a certain magic that attracted even more customers. Meanwhile, their developing relationship brought a vulnerability to their conversations. Zara would confide in him about her early insecurities, how she often worried that her online persona overshadowed her true self, preventing others from getting close to her. Matteo would share his own fears, the quiet worry that his life was too slow paced, too rooted in tradition, to mesh with someone who lived on trending hashtags and instant updates. Yet they found harmony in their differences. Zara showed him how to write whimsical product descriptions that enthralled her audience. Matteo demonstrated an old carving trick, turning a simple block into a mesmerizing swirl of shapes as they laughed together. Sometimes they'd stop midday to sit on the porch, sipping iced tea while indulging in comfortable silences that their hearts somehow understood. More often, though, Zara recorded behind the scenes glimpses of their creative process, now occasionally capturing shy smiles or affectionate glances. Her followers responded with jubilant comments, many remarking on how rare it was to see such sincere chemistry. They clamored for more, but Zara exercised restraint, wanting to keep her relationship with Matteo guarded against the glare of the internet's scrutiny. Fall arrived in a flurry of bright leaves and cooler winds. The season seemed to wrap itself around the cottage and workshop like a snug blanket. The collaboration had expanded from candle holders and trinket boxes to a limited edition set of carved wall hangings featuring enchanting forest motifs. Matteo taught Zara the significance of each leaf shape he carved, describing how certain curly cues represented renewal, while others hinted at the passage of time. One crisp afternoon, they decided to take a break from the workshop and go for a walk through a nearby wooded trail. The path meandered under tall maples and oaks adorned with gold and fiery orange foliage. The air smelled of damp earth, and their boots crunched on fallen leaves. At a clearing, Zara paused to film the scenery, capturing the swirl of leaves dancing in a gentle gust of wind. She turned the camera lens toward Matteo, who was gazing up at the canopy of color. "Doesn't it look like the wood grain you carve, just on a much grander scale?" she said. He nodded thoughtfully. "Sometimes I think nature is the greatest craftsman. We just try to emulate a fraction of its beauty." She lowered the phone and slid it into her pocket. They continued walking until they reached a small wooden bridge over a creek. Resting an elbow on the railing, Zara sighed happily. I wish it could always be like this, she said softly. Matteo moved closer, draping an arm around her shoulders. Me too. But life changes. We'll grow, and so will this, he replied, brushing a fallen leaf off her jacket. She turned, looking at him with curiosity. You're not worried that my influencer lifestyle will conflict with the peaceful life you want? A gentle smile touched his lips. We'll find a balance, he said. I see how your eyes light up when you connect with others online. That's just a part of who you are. And maybe you see how my heart is in the workshop. That's me. But we can make space for both. Zara felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, touched by his faith in her and in them. She reached up, brushing a hand against his cheek. What did I do to deserve someone like you? She whispered. He placed his hand over hers, pressing it gently. Maybe we were just meant to find each other like matching grains in wood. They laughed softly at the analogy, their breath turning to faint clouds in the cool air as they stood in comfortable embrace. In the following weeks, they continued to refine their product line, eventually launching a holiday collection that sold out within hours. Newspapers and local TV stations ran stories about the craftsman and the influencer, praising the ingenuity and authenticity of their work. And though the publicity was thrilling, it was secondary to the sense of fulfillment they derived from each other's company. With winter's approach, the days became shorter and the nights colder. One evening, Zara decided to stay over rather than drive back to the city. Matteo lit a fire in the cottage's old black iron stove. They shared dinner, vegetable soup with fresh bread at his small wooden dining table, the flames casting a warm glow on the walls. It felt intimate, homey, like the life Zara had never realized she wanted. Outside, frost clung to the windows and stars glimmered in the clear sky. Zara placed her phone on silent mode, determined to give them an uninterrupted moment. After dinner, she helped Matteo wash dishes. Then they settled on the worn couch near the stove to sip mulled cider and talk about their plans. A comfortable silence eventually fell, broken only by the crackle of the stove. Zara leaned her head on Matteo's shoulder, feeling the steady rise and fall of his breathing. Memories whirled. That first meeting at the market, the tentative partnership, their shared triumphs, and the quiet moments like this one, where words were no longer necessary. As she closed her eyes, she could almost hear the hum of possibilities that awaited them. Maybe they would open a small gallery in town or create an annual limited edition product line in different collaborative mediums. Perhaps they would move in together, balancing her love for city lights with his need for wide open spaces. The details were unclear, but the foundation of trust and affection had already grown strong. Finally, Matteo pressed a soft kiss to her temple, wrapping his arm around her. You're staying tonight? He asked. She nodded. If that's okay with you. More than okay, he replied, a gentle smile lifting his lip. The next morning, Zara awoke in the cozy guest bedroom, the scent of pine and cinnamon drifting through the air. She shoved aside the blanket and peeked out the window to watch an early winter sunrise cast an orange glow over the frosted fields. It felt like a dream, one where the demands of her social media presence could briefly wait in the wings. Downstairs, she found Matteo finishing up a call with someone who sounded like a supplier. He looked up, smiling at the sight of her, hair tousled from sleep, cheeks flushed with the morning chill. Morning, he said, placing a mug of steaming coffee in her hands. I was thinking about adding a new piece to our collaboration, something that conveys unity. He laughed sheepishly. All right, maybe it's a bit sappy, but I love it, Zara broke in. We can show the world that tradition and modernity don't have to be at odds. He nodded, relieved, and hopefully continue inspiring others to see that the old ways and the new can merge gracefully. They clinked their mugs, letting the warmth spread through them. In the background, a soft notification chirped from Zara's phone. It was a new set of orders, more messages from excited fans. The future that once might have seemed daunting for two people from different worlds now held the promise of growth and discovery. They were, after all, partners in more ways than one. As sunrise turned to daylight, the craftsman and the influencer prepared to face a new day together, carving out a path that honored both his heritage and her modern vision. And along that path, though full of unknowns, they knew love and creativity would continue to guide them, trending worldwide or simply within each other's hearts.